Well, I'd like to welcome you to the third section of discussion of poetry and creativity. In this book, I like to discuss different women poets in the Penguin Book of Women Poets, edited by Carol Kosman, Joan Keefe, and Kathleen Wheeler. In this book, what I would like to do is to consider the aspect of the history of knowledge in poetry, and what's similar, what's different, and what is the same using a metaphysical basis. For example, when we consider a poetry section, a love poem written in about 1507 BC, it begins, with you here at Meritu is like being at Helopias Clarity. We return to the tree, filled gardens, my arms full of flowers, looking at the reflective in the still pool. My arms full of flowers, I see you creeping on tiptoe, to kiss me from behind, my hair heavy with perfume. Wish your arms around me, I feel as if I belong to Pharaoh. Now let's consider another poem written by Louise Labelle, a Renaissance poet from 1526 to 1566. When I catch light of fair head, garland with living laurel, making you salute sound so well, that you compel to rise and be your full self, rocks and trees, when live I adore, in virtue allegiance, chief in honor as my love. Then does my passionate heart suppose that by such virtue as you are beloved, esteemed by all, so could you love, and to such worthy objective could you amend the virtue of taking pity and the virtue of being aroused, sweetly and glowing by my love. As you can see, both express a form of a love to someone, and a love that is very deep and introspective, as well as outgoing, and again, personality as feeling as personification. Now, when we consider a postmodern poet, Sylvia Plath, who wrote The Bell Jar and Nick and the Candlestick, I am the miner, the light turns blue, waxy stalactites, drip and thicker tears, the earthen womb excludes from its dead boredom, black bit air. Now, as you can see, it's a form of love. It's a form of love, but it's a love expressed in sorrow, indirectly, and it's choppy. It's not contrived rhyme, as you can see with the other two poems written. This is choppy, contrived, not contrived, and sometimes not flowing. Now, why could that exist? Well, the thing is, you have to remember, though, in different parts of history, sometimes some people had their writings strictly monitored or practiced self-censorship. For example, in the ancient and the Renaissance, there are many cases where women had their writings under self-censorship. So what happens, their writings had to follow a certain form of contrived rhyme, and certain things could be expressed freely, but they had to be hidden, a poem within a poem within a poem, or meter, or expression within the meter. In Sylvia Plath, the expression is choppy because it is full expression. It is unmonitored. It is her true thoughts without someone correcting or overlooking her shoulder as she's writing. Now, in creativity, as in any form of creativity, music, poetry, development, technology, anything, you have to have a sense of isolation. You have to have a sense of freedom. If you don't have the isolation, you don't have the freedom, it'll be very hard for you to create. I mean, you can do things that basically that like go about like from a book. If someone were to ask you, well, calculate 2 plus 2 equals 4, or basically do some form of calculus. Fine, but if someone would ask you to do something that's not in the book, it'd take a very long time under a creative person's not in a free environment that doesn't have isolation, egotism, vitality, drive, and stamina. And part of the vitality, drive, egotism, and stamina is derived from being yourself, explaining yourself, living in your true self, and not being hindered by preconceived ideas or preconceived conclusions. Although everyone is free to have different ideas, it's important that everyone realizes that everyone is free to also have their own identity. And this is the reason why it is important to consider basically how to maintain your identity and yet to do it in a lawful way, because the one advantage of the United States Constitution is that certain church and state are separate, which helps a lot in the creative process. In other areas where church is part of the state, there are many cases of women who are denied education because church elders feel that that's not that according to our church that's not something that's done, or even women who have been severely beaten and hurt, as a young woman from Pakistan who because she went to school and she excelled in school. That's the reason why it's important to maintain a lawful system of separation of church and state, as well as a constitution that respects equal protection of all rights and all beliefs. For example, the First Amendment protects the freedom of religion, and the protection of freedom of religion means that someone is either free to believe or not believe. They're free to belong to church or not belong to church. They're free to be spiritual, not spiritual, free to be religious, not religious, or free to be neither. However, as far as the country goes, there's certain rules the Constitution, First Amendment, does not allow. The First Amendment does not allow one to take the First Amendment rights and use it in a form of abuse against another, basically in domination or in bullying. And that's the reason why the creative spirit is about sort of expressing ideas and helping to keep people free. And the important thing is to try to go out, talk at different state councils, but the most important thing is always to put whatever you say in writing. Whenever I speak or go to city council or other places, I always leave a hard copy along, because what happens, a hard copy is fixed and permanent. No one can take a hard copy and mix words around and say, well, she said this, she said that, like they can do with videotape or video or something else. A hard copy is always fixed and permanent. Even though this is the 21st century, I still use a notebook, and I still have diaries dating back to when I was 12 years old, similar to many prominent families and old families like that, as well as noble families. It is important to keep a notebook, and something that's basically concise, that you can carry with you in your purse or carry or do something or write, as well as a good pen. Because although computer technology has improved, the notebook is still nice to keep some private thoughts that basically aren't really private compared to a computer. And even here, I have a notebook myself, which I keep a bigger notebook, where I keep different ideas down as to how I write my novels or write my books. Let us continue to the next session.